Austin. We met through a blind date, but he pursued me aggressively and we started dating. Eventually, we decided to tie the knot and we got married. I was surprised that we got married within 6 months of dating, but given our ages, I thought it was best to make the decision quickly. People were quite surprised by my rapid marriage to Austin, especially because of the man I had dated before him. My ex Cole and I had been together since our freshman year of college, totaling about 12 years. We even lived together for a significant portion of that time, and people around us often teased us about when we would finally get married. I had assumed that I would eventually marry Cole, but out of nowhere, he abruptly ended our relationship. I know this is selfish, but I need you to break up with me. What? Why are you saying this all of a sudden? I'm sorry, Nora, but I can't see a future with you anymore. Are you serious? After 12 years together, Cole, I'm really sorry. We can't be together anymore. No matter how hard I pressed for reasons, Cole stuck to his decision without offering any substantial explanations. I was left feeling hurt and angry, ultimately agreeing to the breakup. The first few months post-breakup were incredibly challenging as I felt like I had wasted my entire 20s with him. I turned to excessive drinking, causing concern among my friends. During one particularly drunken episode, I started picking up random guys, prompting my friends to intervene and ensure I got home safely. Seeing me in that state made them realize I needed to change my behavior, so they set me up on a blind date where I met my now husband Austin. Austin was considered an elite individual, having graduated from a prestigious university and working for a major corporation. He was 2 years older than me and under pressure from his parents to find a suitable partner for marriage. Hence, he was actively seeking a life partner. He approached me so ardently that it was easy to fall for him. Looking back, I regret not making a more considered decision instead of rushing into things. However, my husband came from a great family with an impressive background, so it didn't seem like a bad choice at the time. I suppose I was somewhat deceived by his apparent qualities. After all, for someone who had been dumped after a 12-year relationship, a partner like him seemed perfect for marriage. When I married Austin, he asked me to focus entirely on being a housewife. I did enjoy my job, but I wasn't so attached to it that I wanted to go against my husband's wishes. Thus, I became a full-time housewife, dedicating myself to managing the household chores and supporting my husband to the best of my ability. In its own way, our marriage seemed to be going well. However, there were times when I felt quite bored. Not working meant having a lot of free time on my hands, and I began to realize that I might be more inclined towards keeping busy with work. Nonetheless, I believed it was my duty as a wife to fulfill my role, so I continued to do my best. Time passed quickly, and a year went by since our marriage. Our daily routine remained largely unchanged. In my husband's family, he was the youngest, with 2 elder sisters named Harper and Madison. His sisters were very kind and friendly towards me, often visiting our house. However, whenever they came over, my husband would wear an unhappy expression. Harper and Madison were caring and reliable, and they didn't hesitate to scold my husband when he did something wrong. This seemed to make my husband a bit nervous around them, although I had never seen his sisters get truly angry at him. I didn't take his concerns too seriously when he mentioned this. As another year drew to a close, I received an unexpected phone call from my mother-in-law, Aria. "Hello, Aria. You called me out of the blue. Is something the matter? Do you and Austin have any plans for New Year's? Did you skip coming last year? That's why you should come this time. I'll show you how we celebrate New Year's in our house." With that, Aria abruptly hung up the phone. "Who was that on the phone?" I asked my husband. He replied, "It was my mother. She wants us to spend New Year's at her place. We didn't go last year, so I guess we should go this time." I can envision a relaxing New Year's at home, filled with beer, TV, and leisure. I never anticipated that we'd be heading to Aria's house, especially with just a week until the new year. We hadn't been visiting my in-laws frequently in the past, mainly because my husband didn't have a strong desire to do so. When I had asked him if we could skip visiting them for Christmas and New Year's last year, he had reassured me that his family didn't have high expectations, saying, "It's okay, they don't expect much from us." I suspected that Aria didn't particularly like me. Whenever I visited their house, she would mostly engage with Austin and make me feel invisible. On the rare occasions when my father-in-law, Kim, conversed with me to make me feel welcome, Aria didn't even spare me a glance. When I brought this up with my husband, he dismissed it as my imagination, telling me I was too self-conscious. Feeling uncertain about how to approach the upcoming New Year's visit, I couldn't rely on my husband's perspective on his mother. Nonetheless, with Jim, Harper, and Madison likely to be there, I hoped I wouldn't feel too out of place and decided not to dwell on it. As New Year's Eve arrived, we completed the morning chores, had lunch, and set off for Kim and Aria's house. Their home was a 2-hour drive from ours, and we arrived around 2 p.m. As I stepped out of the car, I noticed that Kim's vehicle was missing. Concerned, I asked my husband where his father was. He explained that Kim was likely picking up Harper and Madison. I felt relieved hearing that, and my husband and I went to the front door and rang the doorbell. "Yes, I'll open the door soon," Aria called out, and a few minutes later, the front door swung open. "Oh, hello. Thank you for coming all the way here. Welcome back," Aria greeted us. My husband responded warmly, saying, "Aria, it's so nice to see you." However, Aria's smile was reserved only for him as she glanced at me and said, Come on in. There's cake and tea." Once again, she ignored my presence. Feeling uncomfortable, I attempted to enter the house, but Aria blocked my way. "Hey, you can't come in here yet. Excuse me, you need to go buy these first," she declared, handing me a list. The list was filled with various ingredients, including beef, lettuce, tomatoes, mushrooms, beer, and more. Was she expecting me to buy everything on this list? "You better hurry up, okay?" she added. I inquired about the location of the nearest supermarket, which seemed to annoy Aria. "It's your fault for rarely visiting here, isn't it? If you came here more often, you'd know where the supermarket is. Find it yourself," she retorted. Next, I asked about how we should handle the food expenses. "Should I pay for it and have you reimburse me later?" I suggested. Aria's eyes widened and her anger flared. You rarely come to my house and you want me to pay for it? Unbelievable," she exclaimed. My husband, Austin, intervened, asking his mother what was wrong. Aria quickly explained, "Oh, Austin, honey, Nora just tried to make me pay for the groceries." Austin defended me, saying, "What? Hey, don't upset mom like that. Just pay for the groceries yourself." I offered another solution. "How about I pay with my credit card and you reimburse me?" Aria, however, insisted, "Pay from your credit card. Don't use our family budget. Just go quickly. We're about to have tea, so don't spoil it." With that, she forcefully shut the front door in my face. I couldn't believe her attitude, and I was also frustrated with my husband for siding with her. I crumpled up the list and tossed it in front of their door before leaving. On my way home, I stopped at the supermarket and purchased some delicious appetizers, steak, and beer. By the time I arrived home at 5 p.m., I was fuming. I decided to take a relaxing bath and enjoyed a cold beer with the appetizers by myself around 6 p.m. I was enjoying some solitude, sipping my drink and watching TV while getting a little tipsy. At some point, I glanced at my phone, which was on silent, to check if my husband had called. To my surprise, there were no missed calls or messages from him, even though I had returned home without completing the shopping. This unexpected silence from him irritated me further. Growing more agitated, I decided to divert my attention by indulging in the delicious steak I had prepared. As I savored each bite, a doorbell suddenly rang, startling me. Wondering who could be visiting at this hour, I went to answer the door. To my astonishment, I found my in-laws and my husband Austin standing there. Harper, my sister-in-law, immediately began apologizing, saying, "I'm sorry for my mother and brother." Both Aria, my mother-in-law, and Austin had red, teary eyes, not from alcohol, but from being scolded by Harper, Madison, and Kim. Under pressure from Harper and Madison, Austin and Aria reluctantly started apologizing, sounding as if they were doing it under duress. Afterward, I brought Austin inside and my in-laws left. As soon as they were gone, Austin became angry, reproaching me, "Why didn't you defend me?" He continued to express his frustration, but I chose to ignore him. A few days later, I met up with my high school friends for the first time in a while and had lunch with them. However, on my way back home, I stumbled upon a shocking sight. My husband was walking arm in arm with another woman. In secret, I took a photo of them and sent it to my husband with a text message demanding an explanation. He read the message but chose not to reply, ignoring my inquiries. As I waited for him to return home, growing increasingly angry with his silence, he arrived with his lover, and they both entered without my consent. Aria immediately started belittling me, claiming that the other woman was a better match for her son, suggesting I should leave him. She even went so far as to declare, "Because of your unworthiness, my son had an affair, so there will be no alimony." Austin joined in, blaming me for the situation. His lover wore a triumphant grin on her face. My husband produced signed divorce papers and I feigned distress, saying, "Give me some time to think about it," before leaving. My husband seemed to misinterpret my reaction, grinning and telling me to come back soon as they would be waiting for me. I hurried into a cafe and immediately dialed Harper and Madison. They arrived promptly, and I played them the secretly recorded conversation I had with Austin and Aria. Both Harper and Madison were furious, urging me to send the recording to their father as well. After sharing the recording, the three of us returned to the house where Austin, Aria, and Austin's lover were present. The arrival of Harper and Madison startled my husband and Aria to the point where they fell off their chairs. They were met with a barrage of anger from both sisters, questioning how they could condone Austin's actions. Harper and Madison directed their initial anger at Austin and then turned it towards Aria. Harper chastised Aria for spoiling her son and approving of his affair. Both Austin and Aria, frightened, tried to deflect blame onto Austin's lover. Harper and Madison leaned in close to Austin's lover, fixing stern glares upon her. She, overwhelmed and teary-eyed, trembled as she apologized profusely. Harper and Madison then made my husband promise that he would divorce me but still provide alimony. It was inevitable for him to pay alimony when he had already admitted to the affair. As I signed the divorce papers, Aria's phone received a text message from Kim. Aria panicked, exclaiming, "Oh my God, what shall I do? Kim is saying he's going to divorce me." She clung to my husband with tears in her eyes, but my husband, obligated to pay alimony to me due to Harper and Madison's insistence, couldn't afford to concern himself with his mother's problems. He responded coldly, "Don't ask me about it. I don't even have the capacity to look after you." With that, we successfully divorced. As for Austin's lover, she disappeared from his life after he paid the alimony, too terrified of Harper and Madison. It appeared that Kim had indeed divorced Aria, and she had forced her way into Austin's life to live with him. They are now living together, and Austin is the one responsible for paying the alimony and covering living expenses for both Aria and himself. However, news of the affair spread at Austin's workplace, leading to a pay cut, and it seems he's now facing financial difficulties. It's a fitting consequence for both Austin and Aria. Meanwhile, Harper offered me a job opportunity at her company after someone quit, so I attended a job interview and was hired as a full-time employee. I now work diligently alongside Harper. To celebrate my new job and the divorce from Austin, both Harper and Madison took me to a bar after work. During our conversation, they mentioned that the bartender at this bar was nice and handsome, and I inquired if he was a young man. They informed me that he was in his early 30s, about my age. As we arrived at the bar, I followed Harper and Madison and took a seat at the counter. The bartender welcomed us, and when I looked at him, I was surprised to see that it was Cole, my ex-boyfriend who had abruptly ended our 12-year relationship. I immediately excused myself, intending to leave, but Cole stopped me, asking for a minute to talk. We stepped outside, and Cole apologized for what had happened between us. I reassured him that it was all in the past now, and he explained that he had taken up bartending as a side job while still working at his company. He revealed that his father had fallen seriously ill 2 years ago, leaving the family in a dire financial situation. With mounting medical expenses and his father unable to work at the family factory, they had to close down the business, leaving them with substantial debt. Cole felt embarrassed to ask me to marry him given their financial troubles, and he didn't want me to start our marriage with such burdens. "I didn't want to make you unhappy, Nora, which is why I ended things abruptly back then, but I'm truly sorry for how it made you feel. I thought I would never see you again, so now that fate has brought us back together, I felt compelled to apologize. You're right, I should have talked to you about it first. Leaving without an explanation was unfair to you, and I'm deeply sorry. I hope you can forgive me." "Idiot," I muttered. "Huh?" Cole looked puzzled. "You should have talked to me before making such a decision. Do you have any idea how difficult it was for me to come to terms with the sudden breakup?" Cole expressed his regrets. "I'm sorry," and continued, "Well, it's too late to change the past, but yes, I'm still in debt. I'll finally finish paying it off this month. My father has been discharged from the hospital for now, so things are looking up. I'm relieved." I smiled warmly. "I'm really glad to hear that, Cole." He then asked, "You know, Nora, I won't say that I want to start over with you right now, so will you be my friend again?" I replied, "Yeah, sure." We re-entered the bar together, and seeing us return, Harper and Madison cheered happily. From that point on, Cole and I started spending more time together, and our relationship gradually grew stronger. Eventually, he proposed, and we got married. Our friends and family celebrated our union, and even Harper and Madison agreed that I was much better suited to Cole than Austin. We welcomed our son, Theo, into the world, and our family lived happily together. I cherished the love I had for my husband and our son, and I looked forward to creating many more happy memories together. Harper and Madison were wonderful sisters, and I was grateful to have them in my life. Cutting ties with Austin and Aria was the right decision, and the unexpected reunion with Cole was a touching twist of fate. I was determined to continue living a joyful life with my family.